Welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV, and I'm back on the beautiful River Spey with Ian. Ian, it's great to be back, and
good to hear you back again, pal. Definitely.
And you're having a sneaky cast just before dinner.
Just a wee sneaky in, just 5-10 minutes before we head back for the old G&T, pal.
Sounds perfect.
Pre-dinner G&T. And it was quite nice.
So Ian, this is Castle Grant and this is beat 1, isn't it?
This is beat 2.
Oh, is
James.
it? Okay,
it's
beat 2.
It's beat 2.
Yeah.
Beat 1's absolutely hopeless. No, it's not absolutely hopeless at all. Beat 1 actually used to be, it was just up there, that bit on the far bank, that's the tail end of beat 1, so this is the beginning of beat 2. Call it High Church. And beat 1, when I first came to the Spey, James, that was the pool to fish. Everybody fished there. Arthur Oglesby, all these people, you know, John Ashley Cooper, they were all fishing in that beat, and it was just fabulous at that time. Really, really fabulous. That was the kind of, well, I came in the mid-80s, and the period, I suppose, of really fantastic fishing up there would have been the 70s, really. You know, but 60s and 70s.
Sure.
Brilliant.
So conditions-wise, Ian, you know, we're fishing here for a couple of days. Level, the river's quite low, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're on the 6th of June, D-Day. Least we forget, boy.
Absolutely.
Telling you.
Absolutely.
So, the river's lowish for the time of year, but I tell you what it is, James, it's kind of cold for the time of year.
It is
as well.
cold, isn't it?
What we've got quite a few fish this week beginning to be caught on the lower part of the river, and it's just the cold water's just hanging them back a wee bit. So we're looking for the sun to shine on us in the next few days, pal. Definitely.
But saying that, I mean, this is you've got, I think it's a 6-rod beat, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And you know, you have been catching fish.
Yes.
Steen, one of your guests, he caught a nice fish. I don't know, just a couple of hours ago out the Manse Pool, didn't he?
Just a second ago, John. Just I suppose about an hour ago. You're right enough. And this is first time with the Spey. It's fantastic.
He's beaming, isn't he?
Oh, he's chuffed. The guy is so chuffed, you know. And it's brilliant because he was fishing on the Manse Pool right beside the road. It's a famous pool, James. And he's fishing there. The gilly's doing it with the next guy. We're doing it at the very bottom, so the poor guy's on his own there. And somebody sees a car stopping when he's playing the fish. And the guy that jumps out the car, would you believe, is the son of Eric Robb, who was the gilly here from 1972 to 1987, where sadly he died really young age, Eric. But his son Derek saw the rod bent, came out and landed the guy's fish for him. I mean, how
fantastic! What are the chances, eh? But
just fantastic.
No, that was good. It was a decent fish, wasn't it? It looked like a double-figure fish, anyway.
It was definitely I would have said a 12-pound fish, something like that. Great. You know,
really and that's just great. So yeah, it's fantastic to be on the Spey. I don't think I've been here since we did the last video at Easter Elkies, which was a different day completely, if you remember.
It was
a really high river, wasn't it?
It's a high river, and it was a March day, James. So it was March, and we needed a bit of central heating that day, and I think we had a wee bit of central heating that day. But speaking of that, we'll be. I'm sure we'll maybe shy of a bit of central heating later on, right enough.
And this pool, Ian, so what's your tactics here? Just talk us through your tactics.
So basically what I've got here, it's a High Church pool. You'll see it's a big wide expanse. It's not deep at all. There is a wee deep channel for about midway over. See the line of that stone there? This is why I'm kind of standing back and throwing. I'm letting the line, purposely letting the line belly here, because I've put on a little baby sunray, and I'm going to change the speed that I'm going to strip this. Baby sunray, baby strips. You know,
I like
baby sunray, baby strips, or sometimes we'll put on a long strip. It's good to vary it, as you know.
It's quite clear you're moving quite quickly through the pool, aren't you?
I am, because it's a pool that's, like I say, it's not a pool that the fish are going to be lying up in here for any length of time. You're intercepting fish in here. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking two steps per cast, moving the fly, because there's not so much speed with the low water. I'm moving the fly, but this one's got a tungsten tip on it, and I'm fishing it on a sink tip. So it's not the classic way to fish a sunray shadow. I'm fishing this more like a lure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
One thing that always amazes me, and I forget because I don't get to fish the Spey very often, I mean the river's low, but there's fantastic pace, isn't there?
Oh,
and when you look at the pools, I mean, it's almost like they just blend into one, even at this height.
It's amazing, James. I mean, for me, someone asked me a question the other day, and they said, you know, of all the rivers that you've been to in the world, what it always comes with, everything is measured for this river.
It is.
It's got everything, James. It's got absolutely everything when it comes to salmon fishing, you know. Could be doing with a few more salmon right enough.
Of course, of course. Listen, they've been caught.
Absolutely.
And I think you got some other guests fishing down at Lower Pitcroy.
Yep, I've got.
And they caught a fish. I know there was 1 or 2 fish caught there today. So
there's been fish caught pretty much on most beats every day. Not masses of fish, but
still. What it is, you could see when Steen got that fish, everyone else in the group, it gives them that confidence, James, and
that's what it's all about. And the whole ambience of the group just begins to change. Not that there was any bad ambience, but a fish lifts everything.
It's brilliant.
James. It just is magic.
Ian, tell us about this stretch of water. So I've never actually been this far up the Spey before.
Yep.
So we're very near to Grantown, aren't we?
So we're near Grantown and Spey. Grantown and Spey, there's a wee walk just in the wood behind this pool.
Yeah.
It's very easy to walk over to Grantown. But basically what you've got here is the beginning of the classic Spey beats.
Yeah.
It was really Castle Grant. It's right next to Tulkin, downstream, so it's marching on Tulkin, which is marching on Ballindally, you know, and so I would say, when we're talking about this part of the river, it's going to be 40 miles above the sea anyway, maybe even more, I don't quite know, but it's a long way for the sea, but many times at this time of year you're going to get sea laced fish. They're going to come all the way up here, no trouble at all, when they want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's really exciting. We're staying at a fantastic lodge, aren't we? Which is not too far away.
Hang on, I've just seen a fish. Shut up a minute.
Okay.
2 minutes. I just seen a fish.
Catch it, mate. Catch it.
Right, he was right on the far side. He was a wee bit further than I thought. So I'm just going to lengthen the line a wee bit.
I'll just move out the way a bit then.
No problem at all. No, you're speaking about the lodge, James.
Yeah, I quickly, literally got here about lunchtime, dropped my kit off there, and obviously keen to get out on the river.
Yep.
So I haven't had a good look round, but all I can say is it looks awesome.
Inverallen Lodge, it's a beautiful Georgian house. Yeah. It comes as part of this beat, it services the beat. Yeah. And the guys that are in it, they've been there for a long time, so the chef Evelyn, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I'm looking forward to dinner and maybe having that gin and tonic and then getting out tomorrow. So we're going to be on this part of Beat 2 tomorrow morning, are we?
We are. So basically what we've got here is the High Church pool. We've not fished this one. It's part of our little rotation here. Yeah. So it means that the way that the gilly runs the rotation here means that you're going to start on a set of pools depending on the height. He'll tell you which ones. So you'll start on that first thing in the morning. You'll fish that pools till lunchtime. He'll change, and then we'll have another set of pools in the afternoon. Then we'll change again at 5 o'clock, and whichever pools you're fishing at 5, then you're going to be fishing again in the morning. So
that's a really nice way to do it.
It is a good way, because
so if you want to rest it, you can rest it for the next day.
Absolutely.
Or conversely, if you want to fish on into the evening, you're not affecting anybody else's fishing in the morning.
Yep, that's what I like about it, James. I really like that.
I'll tell you what, Ian. Okay. What do you reckon? Brilliant. A couple of more casts, and then I think we're going to get back to the lodge. Do you think? Or you've seen a fish, so
I reckon the fish is there. So I would always get 2 more casts, because you never get anything with the last cast, so you're always better to get 2.
And I think that G&T's tempting us,
definitely, no doubt about it.
All right, mate, well thank you so much.
It's no problem, but I'm going to have 4, because I've just seen a fish. So the G&T's going to have to wait for a few seconds more. So that was 1, we'll have 3 more, pal. the gilly, he asked us to fish it down into the tail, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
Now, that was probably the worst cast that I've made. It was still a good cast.
It still looked pretty good to me.
It was still alright, but it wasn't up to my normal standards.
I'm glad it's you casting and not me. Anyway.
Ah, God. No, we were talking about the fishing, James. We were fishing further down the river last week, and I was guest of my pal Andy Maduris fishing on Arndilly, which is well down the river. Yep. And we had, I think it was like 29 fish we caught.
Yeah,
you know,
amazing,
it was fabulous. Yeah. And the beats round about Arndilly were catching not so many. And then this week the table turns. Yeah. You know, so it's
you never really know, do you? You never really know. And if you could just drop right.
Absolutely. And you have to have a lot of luck in salmon fishing nowadays. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
But we know that, you know? And but I'm just so thrilled to be back on the Spey.
It's just magic.
It's just an awesome river, isn't it? I mean, when you consider that we're not on the upper half of the river, are we? Would you say we're just about halfway?
No, I would say this is halfway up the whole length of the river. Yeah. But as far as the fishery is concerned, this really is Castle Grant and the Granton Association water, which it has to be said is a fabulous association. Yeah. And I was walking there with my dog this morning, just outside the lodge. Yeah. Walked away up, I never saw a soul. Yeah. I just thought, I mean, it's almost like a private fishery, you know. For you know, it's just, it really is a fantastic place, like, really. So here we go. This is the last cast because the gin and tonic's definitely beginning to. There we go. We'll let it go. Oh,
wow, that's beautiful. A good one to finish on, mate.
Aye. Luckily the wind's helping me here, James, but it is just so nice. The kit's just lovely to fish, and that's what I love when I've got a wee helpful wind. Yeah. There's nothing better than a spey line, you know, from a casting perspective, you know, but it is great, really good. I'm going to do the old trick of winding in, you never know.
I like that one.
You never know.
Yeah, I like that one.
You never know. Never know. Oh, no. Right. Gin and tonic time, pal.
Cheers, mate, and I'm really looking forward to the next 2 days.
Great stuff, Loon. Me too. Definitely. We'll get a fish or two for you.
Let's try anyway, mate.
Definitely. Good lad.
Thanks, Ian.
Cheers, pal.
Well, we're back out on the river. Had a fantastic dinner last night, and the conditions look absolutely perfect. This is called the Cut Pool, and you can see that the river here is really quite narrow. And basically it's an island here, and I've just fished through the pool quite quickly. I really enjoyed it. It's got so much character, there's so much going on, and it's really easy to cover the water with quite a short cast, really, certainly in comparison to the upper church pool that Ian was fishing last night. But I'm just getting to the tail of the pool now, and I've been using a long leader, around about a 15-foot leader, but I'm going to now go back and fish the pool again, and I'm just going to add a small tip, a 5-foot intermediate tip, and just try the pool again. Even though it's quite narrow here, you could definitely see there was some depth in the pool, and I'm just going to change it a little bit and just try and get my fly down a little bit deeper. So I'll just have a couple more casts and then go back up to the top of the pool, change the tip or put a tip on, and then fish it through again. It really is exciting. It's such a beautiful pool, and feels like you could get a fish every cast. Okay, so I'm going to put on one of our 5-foot intermediate tips. Obviously our line, so the line I'm using incidentally is our 8-9 micro spey line, which I'm really fond of. It's got an integrated running line, so it's a really versatile line, and I've matched that up with our 12-6 Ian Gordon double-handed rod. So there we go, got that unravelled. And the lines come with a welded loop, so it's really easy just to, just going to use my snippers just to cut the leader. So yeah, hopefully this 5-foot tip is just going to help kind of just dig the line in a bit. And I'm going to shorten my leader down. So I mentioned I was using a long leader, which I really like to do, especially when the river's low. I like to fish with a dropper, but what we'll perhaps do, because I'm desperate to get fishing, is we'll perhaps show that when we're back in the hut or something later, how I tie the actual leader. But we'll get rid of that section of line. And then just going to tie that straight onto the tip. Hold on, just do that again. So in my mind, there's not a lot of point having a long leader when you've got a tip on, because obviously you want the tip to do the job and get the fly down. Perhaps if I kept a long leader on, the tip could be sinking, but the fly could still be higher up in the water. So I'm using a figure of 8 knot, but again I'll show you that later when we're back in the hut. So I'll just cut those tags off and we'll get fishing. So the head of this pool looks really nice, and Craig the gilly here on beat 2 was telling me about just fishing it with a short line to start with, just lengthening my line and obviously increasing the distance that I'm fishing. He was explaining that quite often fish will hold in this area here before running up these rapids. So it's obviously a good spot. Well, I can definitely feel just that 5-foot intermediate tip I can feel it digging in, and hopefully it's getting the flies down just that little bit deeper. It's really fascinating bit of water this. There's some lovely pockets of water behind some rocks and it just feels so fishy. I quite like to retrieve when I'm fishing like this, just put a little bit of movement into the fly. And I really like this kind of poly leader or tip because it's actually clear, and I think again that's an advantage. Perhaps if the tip's getting down and with a shorter leader, it's perhaps a bit more subtle than a tip that maybe the fish can see. Well, Ian's just helping some of the guests on a different pool at the moment, but once I fish this again, I'm going to meet up with Ian, and Ian's going to do a bit of a casting demo on the right bank, so I think that'll be really interesting. I've been fishing this pool, just fishing using a single spey cast, which I think is a really effective cast when you've got good conditions like this, and it's very quiet. And when I think you're fishing a small section of river like this, I think that's really important, to be as stealthy and as quiet as you can. Anyway, I'll just let this come round and then we'll reel in and it's definitely not very warm for June. I've had to put another layer on, but you've got to say it's ideal conditions being overcast like this. What a spectacular bit of river. Come on, Mont. All right, Ian.
Yeah, Jamesy, yes.
I've just had
another one.
I've just had there's been a fish come off beat one, hasn't there?
Absolutely. We just had a fish up there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get as close to that place as possible. Buggers, we're letting them through here, James.
I like your style. Well, I really enjoyed fishing the cut.
Aye.
You know, in total contrast to this bit of the river, it's obviously a lot narrower, a lot more intimate. And I fished it twice. Didn't catch, but really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And you fancied coming down and fishing. This is the Manse Pool, isn't it?
This is the Manse Pool. This is the Manse Pool, beat 2, Castle Grant. It's a classic pool. It's a very famous pool, actually. It's a pool that seen so many fish in over the years, you know, and the amount of times I've run past that road and seen people playing fish in this pool, unbelievable.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but normally, James, they fish it for that side, you see, at this height anyway.
Yeah. But you fancied trying it from the other side.
Yep.
One of our group, David, he's fished it from the left bank. You fancied following him down, fishing on the right bank.
Yep.
What's your thinking there?
So, James, at the end of the day, we've got low water, you know, or lowish water, and I think what you have to do with salmon fishing, in my opinion, when they're tricky to catch, and maybe we know that there's 1 or 2 residents in this pool as well, because Steen got his first fish out of it the other day, and that was a resident fish. Tricky fish to catch. They always like something different, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the fly has swam through this current that way, right to left the whole time, you know. So why not just come over and present the fly a different way, you know? I always think that is it's a really, really good tactic to use when salmon fishing.
Yeah, it's a great tip in, and one thing to mention, it's quite a stiff downstream wind at the moment. It's kind of gusty as well, and I think fishing on the right bank can be a tougher bank, can't it? Particularly if you're right-handed.
It most can.
You know, you're having to perhaps fish a single spey off your left shoulder.
Absolutely.
And perhaps if you could just give us some tips about, you know, maybe some other casts that would really help people in this situation.
See, the first tip would be, James, you know, if you've got a strong downstream wind, the thing is, you'd be standing right in the way, your hat's coming off, you know, your hat's going flying through the air, because if I present my D-loop upwind, which I will do because it's you and not me, so that's fine. It wouldn't matter quite the same whether you
this is a single spey off your left shoulder. So that's a single spey
off my left shoulder. The problem with that is that the D-loop is being blown into you, and instead of the wind being your friend, here in this case it's your enemy, because it's slackening the line all the time. So the whole idea with these spey casting is to keep tension in the line the whole time. So throwing the line into the wind, it's going to slacken on the way forward, you know, by the time you bring that rod forward. So we use a couple of casts that I would use in this scenario. The first one, and because I'm fishing with a long headed spey line here, so with the sink tip on, I've probably got 75 feet of line out here. And but I've got a wee weighted fly as well, but not too heavy a fly, so we can use the wind to our advantage when we make that
beautiful snake roll.
So it's the wind's our friend, it's not our enemy. It's blowing
it's keeping the line away from you, and it's actually helping you get the line where you want.
Yes, keeps tension
keeping
in the
it
line
below you.
So I can just keep that nice rhythmic flow going with the rod, you know. So that's, and if you were fishing like a spey line, you've got plenty of room behind you. Smallish fly, poly leader, as we're fishing here, then that cast's a fantastic cast to use. If you were fishing, on the other hand, a slightly heavier fly, for instance, we'd be using what we call a double spey cast, and this is seen as being an old fuddy-duddy cast, but it's a very, very good cast if you're fishing with heavy flies, heavy sink tips. So we're bringing the line up here, but we're always on these casts, always forming that D-loop downwind of us. We're never forming any D-loop. Whenever you have a strong gusty wind or any wind, ideally you want to be forming that D-loop downwind and not upwind.
And just to be clear, in this case, both these casts, you're using the right hand is up the rod.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Right hand up the rod.
Would you mind doing this the snake roll again, just so we can see that?
Yep. I want, when I'm doing the snake roll, basically I'm just flipping all the line off the water and then making my torpedo. When I speak about spey casting, every single spey cast ends up with the rod going through this torpedo shape. Now I'm going to show you something interesting here, Jim. So I'm going to do, there's many ways of skinning the cat, you know, but my own way of making a spey cast is from this point, is just moving the rod through a horizontal, making a turn, so there's no lift behind really, other than the little turn on the torpedo, you know, nothing. However, if you watch this once more, I'll make it once more. If you watch this, you'll see that doing it that way, I can keep the rod moving and I never stop, you know.
It's a continuous movement,
it's a continuous motion. Now the older way, more geriatric way of doing a spey cast was much more like this, you know. So we would flip the rod up in the air here with a snake roll, flip it up, and we would circle the rod up. We'd have to wait till the loop then comes back down on the water. We have to wait because we've not got enough line anchored using the circle up motion. So the difference between the two casts, James, and this is for people who, I mean, often, Christ, I've had it so often, where people will come onto the bank and they'll say, oh, but Jimmy told me to do it that way and you didn't tell me to do it this way, and so people get confused. But generally speaking, here is to take away all the confusion here. So the circle up method, here you have to wait, and go forward. Perfect cast, no trouble at all, no trouble.
It's whatever suits the person.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no right or wrong, is there?
There's none. It's whatever suits you. You know.
Well, I think that snake roll, it's quite a quiet cast, particularly how you're doing it with your timing. It's almost like you're kissing the water with the line as you make the anchor. So, and there's very quiet and clean, isn't it?
It is. I love the expression kissing the water because everything's so nice and gentle and keeps moving and just you get zero loss of energy doing it that way. Absolutely none. It's a fantastic cast for this condition. For this long spey lines in an area like this where you've not got vegetation behind you. Perfect. It's a really good cast.
So could you show us the double spey again? I think that was really clear with the snake roll. And this is one that, it's like you sort of touched on it, it's kind of fallen out of favour a bit, hasn't it? You called it a fuddy-duddy cast.
It is a fuddy-duddy cast.
But it's still one that's got a place.
Without a shadow of a doubt. There is purpose in this one too. So again, it's downstream wind. Ideally, you would be using this cast when you're fishing like a heavier fly, heavier sink tip. And the reason for that is that when you come to this position, the line is already anchored in the correct place. All I'm doing with the swing or sweep is straightening out the line to face my target, you know. But in essence, with the first move, the fly is already in the correct position. So the correct position for a double spey is the fly landing just about where your point of aim is. So here, and now all straightens out and bang.
Wow.
There you have it.
That's fantastic.
And so this is a great cast.
It's a great cast, and I know Glenda and yourself, this is a great cast for beginners, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic.
You know, it's one that you can get to grips with, but as we say, it's one that's a useful one in many situations.
I mean, definitely. I just like the cast because the fly is already anchored on a stormy day and a gusty, it's already there. So as I make that secondary move,
it's never out the water.
The fly is already stuck. So that's that. The fly is a hazard, a potential hazard. If it's already stuck to the water on a stormy day,
especially on a windy day.
So if you have a gusting wind, it's a good one too.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for that. That's absolutely fantastic. I want you to
Go and catch a fish.
Come on, catch a fish here.
I'll go. That's no problem. The casting, it's all easy. Definitely all easy. Don't worry about that. We'll definitely go down here and catch a fish. And if we don't, I'll just blame you. You're the gilly.
My fault.
Gillies are always to blame when you don't catch one, but they're never to blame when you do catch one.
Brilliant. Well, I'm just loving being out on the Spey again, Ian.
It's fantastic, man, fantastic. And I mean, here, I tell you, this one here, James, a good chance of a fish. We had one here yesterday. Okay, it was a resident fish, but we'll go and give it a proper go.
Nice one, mate. Come on then.
Okay.
Let's start working down the pool.
We're going to go for it. So, talking about a fishing part of it, I mean, I've got like a spey line here. There's probably 30 yards between us and the far bank. The part of the river that I'm really going to concentrate is kind of midstream here, and the fly is swinging really nicely through that area. But I've got enough line here, running line, to just help the fly on.
Sure. Put a bit of life into it, a bit of movement, tweak it,
the fly. Again, fish love something slightly different. You know, whether it's a downstream main, an upstream main, just give them something different. A square cast, a shallow cast, something different, no doubt about it.
I think it's worth referencing the rod, and you're using your 15-foot Ian Gordon Spey rod.
It's a 15-foot Cadence Ian Gordon rod, and it's for me, for this type of casting and fishing, it is an absolute delight to use. It really is.
It's in its 10-weight configuration.
It is in a 10-weight configuration.
With a 10-weight line.
I've got the 10-weight line, which, as you can see, is a green line. It's very easy for anyone to see any of our lines, because straight away in your spool you can see if it's green, it's a 10-weight. If it's blue, it's a 9-weight. Orange, a 8-weight. 7. A white one's a 7-weight. So no, it's all. It makes things really easy, James. Definitely. There we go again. It's just a joy to fish with, man. Just a joy.
Lovely to watch, Ian, and thanks for those tips. They've really helped.
That's good, pal. No problem. No problem. Now we'll just get on and catch a fish now.
So unfortunately we failed this morning up on the manse pool, but I thought it was really interesting learning off Ian and got some fantastic tips for casting in a downstream wind. And then this afternoon I fished a beautiful pool here, which is the wash pot, and fished that 2 or 3 times, saw a fish, but again we failed. But just before we go out again this evening, I thought I'd show you some of the actual kind of rigs that I was using today. I referenced it when I was fishing down on the cut, and remember I changed over from a long leader to employing a 5-foot intermediate tip with 2 lengths of fluorocarbon. So I thought I'd show how I tie that. A lot of the time I really favour fishing with a dropper, but I also really like using fluorocarbon, and this is a type of fluorocarbon I use a lot. I know it says it's for carp fishing, but it's 100% fluorocarbon. It's really strong, very reliable and robust. And I like the fact that fluorocarbon's quite stiff, especially when you're using a longer leader. I think it helps to turn the fly over. But I thought I'd just show you how I tie the figure of 8 knot that I was talking about, which creates the loop. So I'll just try and show you this, and I'll show you how I tie it anyway. So if you get 2 pieces of line together like that and create your loop, and then I wrap the loop around my fingers, 2 fingers, and then turn 2 times, and then bring the loop back through, and it creates a figure of 8 knot like that. And I think that's the strongest loop knot you can tie. So I'll wet it and then pull it together gently, and then obviously trim it off. And the way I like to fish my leaders is to step them down, so I don't just use, say, 15 foot of 1 diameter. I might step it down 3 times. So in this case I'll go from a 0.42 millimeter diameter, which is really quite thick. The breaking strain on that says 18 pounds. It's actually quite a bit stronger than that, and I'd probably pull off 1.5 arm spans of that. Attach that to my fly line. So I mentioned about the welded loops on our lines. You can see they're really neat and small, so they don't catch too badly when you pull in the loop through the rod guides. It's very, very strong loop as well. So basically, to attach this loop, I'll put it over the line and then pull the end back through. So you've got a really neat junction then from your fly line to the loop. I prefer to use a loop than a half blood knot. You can sort of tie the leader on with a half blood knot, but I find that that can damage the coating on the line. So I much prefer to use a loop to loop like that. So then I'd step it down to 15 pound in this fluorocarbon. Just try and find the end of it. And I'm just going to pull off 1 arm span of that. So what this does is, by tapering it down, it really helps to turn the fly over, especially if you're using lighter flies. Now in this case, to join the 2 lengths of line together, I do the same knot, but I don't form a loop. So I just put the 2 pieces together like this, leaving plenty of room so I can again go round my fingers. So I've created a loop with the 2 pieces of line, and then twist it 2 times and pull the tag and the rest of the line through like that. So again, there's the figure of 8. And you've got 2 tags. Now this is what I use for when I'm tying a dropper, but I think I'll show you that on the final knot, because I'm going to attach 3 pieces of line together to form the long leader. Okay, so we've got an 18 pound, 15 pound, and now I'm going to finish it off with some 12 pound, and this is going to form the bottom of my leader, and also I'm going to create a dropper. So in this case I'm only going to use sort of half an arm span of line, and the way I like to do it is I like to attach my dropper to the heavier section of line, to that tag. So again, I'll put the 2 pieces together, and I can leave that as long as I want to create my dropper. So I'll go round, so it's that same knot again, pull it through, and this time I'm obviously going to only cut the top tag off, and I'm going to leave the bottom tag for my dropper. And again, I think that's a really strong way of creating a dropper, and I've got a thinner length of line below. So in my mind, say I'm lucky enough to hook a fish, say I hook the fish on the dropper, and when I'm playing the fish, the trailing fly gets snagged up. If the fish pulls, this should break before that. And I have actually had that happen, so I have actually come back and this bit's missing, but I've still got the fish. So that's what I would tie my dropper on. In fact, this was the fly I was using when I was fishing upon the cut pool, and you can see I've got quite a nice cone head there, kind of willy gun type fly that my great friend and fantastic salmon angler Colin Harvey tied for me. And then I don't have a long length, certainly not as long as if I was trout fishing. So what's that, perhaps 50 centimeters to my dropper. And I don't know if you can see that, but if I try and show you, there you go. And I've got a lighter fly, so an unweighted type fly on the dropper, and I find that that helps, having the heavier fly on the point, again, to turn it over and reduce tangles. Now you do get tangles when you're fishing with a dropper, but it's a sacrifice I think I'm prepared to take, because I think it's great. You can try 2 different patterns of fly. You can try a smaller fly on the dropper, a bigger fly on the point, and I just think there's something about having 2 flies. Anyway, it really works with me. I perhaps wouldn't use a dropper if it was really, really windy and I was struggling to cast, and also very early in the spring, perhaps if the river was up and I was using big flies, I wouldn't want the risk of having a dropper perhaps snagging up. So that was the kind of rig and flies that I was using today. So that's my way of doing it. Obviously we've all got different ways, but I feel really confident using the fluorocarbon and stepping it down to create my own leaders. So Ian, it's the last morning of my trip.
Yep.
And I fished this fantastic pool this morning twice. Seen a fish, haven't we?
Yeah, just at the end.
Yeah.
Just as you left.
Yeah. How many times has that happened?
Absolutely, it does. It definitely does.
But Craig had given me some good information about it, and you know, it felt good.
Yeah.
But still nothing at the moment.
No.
Have you heard of any other fish this morning?
Well, I've got a few people fishing the river this week, James, and I've got quite a number of people who are actually fishing well.
Yeah.
In fact, I had one of the guests had Rosie. He had his very first fish this morning.
Oh, fantastic!
Down in Lower Pitcroy, and,
Yeah.
so, and they've loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, what's not to love about
I know.
this? You know?
It's absolutely spectacular, and that's salmon fishing, isn't it? You've just got to keep rolling the dice,
For sure.
keep trying, and not beat yourself up too much.
No. I mean, except that there's not as many as there were before.
Yeah.
But there are always fish
Absolutely.
there, and Rosie's proved it this morning.
Yeah.
Again, you know, and so it's a wonderful place to be, James.
So Ian, I think we're going to fish the pool above. I forget the name of the pool. I'm terrible with pools.
I'm terrible as well, but it's called the Croy Race. That one. The
Which,
Croy Race.
when we fished that the other day, I really enjoyed that one. But I think
that was more like
what would be
wacky
nice
races
as we're kind of sharing a rod, you should fish that one, and if you could give us some inspiration on flies.
Really?
Yeah, come on. Well, let's have a change up. You're going to fish, and we're going to. If you could just.
So James, you're asking honestly, you don't want to fish? No?
Of course I want to fish, but I want you to catch a fish. Now come on, we're gonna raise the game here. So
super sub
Ian, come on.
right. Wait a minute. So if I'm gonna, this is the.
Is this a secret box?
These are now you'll note that I've taken up position with my back to the river.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in case I never ever open up this box.
Am I allowed to see, or is this? I have to step up.
You see him?
Yeah.
That one's waiting for me, James. That one's waiting for me. So as soon as I open the box,
it was unreal, wasn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. You open the box of flies, the secret flies, and a box of fish, just to have a wee look. You can't believe it.
Come on then.
Anyway, so these are the secret flies. Like I say, back to the river, just in case. I mean, that one obviously saw me opening the box.
That was a bit close, yeah.
So there's two that I would choose here. So I'm stuck between two. So this one here is the Alistair, which is an Helmsdale fly, and I'm sure
I've got some like that.
A great, good fly, really good fly. Yeah. And I'm sure not many fish will have seen that in the Spey this week.
Not too big.
Not too big.
Yeah.
No.
And
so you've got that one, or you've got. So that's a Helmsdale one.
Yeah.
You don't put that in your pocket. I saw you planning.
Count it back in.
Absolutely. Or we've got our classic. Now, this is an absolute classic Spey fly, Lady Caroline.
Yeah.
So that has been catching fish on this river for 120, 130, 40 years.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's tied with local ingredients, i.e. herring, hackles. So that was tied long ago, that fly, you know, and that was all the material they had at the time, James. So will we not just give Lady Caroline a wee whack?
I think so, definitely. Maybe if you can fish it twice, you could try both flies, yeah.
Maybe, or give you a proper fly and you could try it the second time.
Once you've had a fish, I'll have a go.
Aye, absolutely. So we'll go for that, eh?
Okie doke.
Aye, right. We'll put that one on.
If we go and do that, Ian, I know you're busy because you've got to get back and see some other guests this afternoon. So I think I'm going to sign out now. And I just wanted to thank you so much for an amazing 3 days.
It's been great.
We've had a great group, haven't we? We've had a real laugh. The food and everything has been awesome.
Inverallenhus there, the staff, brilliant. You couldn't say enough about that. It's a wonderful place. Really.
And you do quite a few of these hosted trips, don't you, now? And this is a real busy period for you, isn't it?
With regard hosting salmon fishing, all through sort of May, June here in Scotland. Lovely places. And it's into July for Iceland, and then back to Scotland again in August.
Absolutely brilliant. I don't know how you do it. You're so busy, but again, thanks for taking the time to help us out. It's been absolutely awesome. You've given us some fantastic tips. Now, go and catch a fish, mate. Come on.
We'll do it.
Thanks ever so much.
No problem.
And thanks for watching.